Welcome to Successful Living with Bill Napick. Every week, we talk with interesting people in a variety of professions for ideas to enhance your success in all aspects of life. Successful Living with Bill Napick starts right now. Here's Bill Napick.
Welcome to the show. It is Successful Living with Bill Napick. I am Bill Napick. Today, also our tremendous show partner, Judene Bill with Texas Floor Covering is here. Judene, it's going to be awesome. You brought tremendous guests. We're going to first start off with real estate. We're going to talk not only about commercial real estate, but we're going to blend in residential as well, as we have representatives, awesome representatives from Compass Real Estate right here in Houston, Texas. We have Monica Sabayas Collin and Eric Nelson, both on a team. They call themselves the Bayou City Team. Hey, guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, Bill.
Glad to be here.
Super awesome. So first of all, this is tremendous to hear about both residential and commercial. Monica, let's just tell people a little bit about your team and how you and Eric are working together.
Well, what can I say about our team? It's fantastic. If you're looking...
Okay, that's enough. It is fantastic.
If you're looking for a dynamic duo, you've definitely found us. I mean, we're both well versed in both residential and commercial, like you stated. And honestly, I couldn't find a better partner, a better mentor, a better person to work with. Eric has the most wonderful giving heart, and I think that one of the qualities that I look for in someone I work with is honesty. I think that we could both probably say that about each other, and we like to give that to our clients. So I think that's what makes us stand out more than anything else.
It's a high praise
It is,
Eric.
but she forgot the most important quality, and that is dad jokes.
Oh, goodness, no.
Got to have dad jokes and have fun. Like, I think that's the most important thing in any profession is having fun. And real estate can be very stress and high pace, but when you break it down and have a good time servicing your clients, then that's what's most important.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. In fact, being professional, getting the job done, exceeding expectations at all turns that are possible, but also having fun where you're having fun, and also to have, especially, I know mostly residential is emotional, but even commercial has some emotional elements. So,
goodness, all emotional.
Being fun to work with, I think, is a key and helps you build your business.
100%. Eric keeps us on our toes with the dad jokes. Most of them are not funny, I will state, but it's funny to watch him.
Yeah. Well, I want to say one thing, and that is on the commercial real estate. That's interesting, your comment there, Monica, as many people say, well, residential is emotional, and it truly is because there's so many things that happen in terms of life events, why we move, and those things. But a lot of people just think commercial is just black and white, strictly business. Shed some light on that.
Oh, goodness. Where money's involved, everything's emotion, right?
I love that. That's a quote.
Every one of my clients that is commercial would look at you and say, what? There's no emotion? No, every single one of my clients has emotion backed by it. You know, whether it's a small business, whether it's a larger business, my clients, are putting basically their future in my hands. They are asking me to procure for them a property, a place that will bring to life whatever it is that they're imagining, whatever it is that they are producing. So yes, there is high emotions. I'd say this week alone, I'm closing on not a huge big deal, but not closing, contracting about a $3.5 million deal. Well, this particular client, he is getting a warehouse, that houses his company, that is a fireproofing company, right? And he is opening, this is the largest warehouse that he'll have in Houston, Texas. And he has much smaller in other cities. But he's saying to me, this is my big deal. This is my big break. He's been in the business 15 years, but this is what he sees as his big break, breaking into Houston. So yeah, it's highly emotional for him. Where every time we travel to see one of these locations, he says, is this where I want to be? And is this where my money should be?
Yeah, so not only are you working with buyers and sellers, but you're also working with national investment firms and international. So tell us about some of those international deals that you've worked on.
Well, I wouldn't say so much international, but I do get calls. But national, yes. This particular client started off in Alabama, has home places in Louisiana, Charlotte, and one other city. I'm sorry, it's escaping me. But Houston, like I said, is going to be his biggest market. He works well with other fireproofing companies, remediation companies, and he does mostly the smaller things like paintings and clothing and just mementos that they'll restore those items. So to him, this is very, very personal. So yeah, going back to what you were asking, emotional.
So, what would you, going back to your early days, what would you have liked to have known that you know now? If somebody was to tell you and give you some advice early on?
Any key of advice would have been great, but I think that probably one of the most important things is go with your gut. In commercial real estate, it is virtually, I hate to say it, it's a man's world, right? So every broker that I'm up against and every other agent
in our field, we've got a lot of women brokers out there.
A lot of men, and I go toe to toe. A lot of them older men, and they, this young girl presents themselves. I'm not that young, 39, but I'm not old and I'm not young. I'm somewhere in the middle. And sometimes, that ageism comes across, and then that, that being a female, and you get into the room and they say, "Oh, are you supposed to be here?" So I have to make my presence known, and sometimes go under the radar, and I don't make my waves until they see the contract. I had a call from a guy the other day once we closed, and he said to me, "How did you get away with that?" I said, "Because you weren't looking out for me. I got away with getting my client a pretty good deal and a lot longer contract than should have been given." But he said, it's 3 weeks out, and I'm looking back at it, and he's like, "I do not know how you got away with that." I said, "You didn't see me coming. You didn't see me coming."
Going under the radar sometimes pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say go with your gut. Don't be afraid. You're going to stand against giants, but, for me personally, I got a greater giant inside me.
Yeah. So for the young women out there that are in commercial real estate, would you encourage them to move over to commercial?
I would say yes. The younger, the better. I think I would have gone into... Knowing what I know now, I would have gone straight from college. I would have gotten under a fantastic mentor like I have here, Eric, much sooner, possibly into one of these larger companies, and just know that it's going to be completely overwhelming, and you're going to start out doing absolutely all of the things that everyone hates. You're going to think that you're not going to get advanced, but I would say that the younger the better, because you don't have a family depending on you. You don't have, bills that are overwhelming. It's the time in your life where you can, and I would say that probably about every type of job out there. It's the time of your life where you're not really having anybody depend on you, and so you can make very little money and get away with it and absorb from people who know best. I would say in any field that you go into, look for a mentor, look for a company that really values mentorship, and decide for yourself that it's going to be okay, that the next couple of years are not going to be that lucrative financially or even emotionally. You'll probably have many breakdowns, but if you're going to absorb and you're going to learn, you're definitely going to take off. And I'd say commercial is just that. You're not going to get into a good rhythm for a while because people are going to underestimate you for sure, but don't let them.
When you began your real estate profession, did you start in residential or you went right to commercial?
No, I started in residential, and that's because Eric brought me on. Eric literally brought me from I wouldn't say completely different field, but as my bio tells you, I have a master's in psychology. And for the longest time, I didn't practice in that because I was given 3 beautiful children, and it didn't allow me to practice psychology. I had to find a job that allowed me to pay bills to take care of 3 beautiful children. And then I decided that job was very well paying, extremely well paying for, having no background in it. And Eric, for the longest time, tried to bring me on, and I said, "Sales? I don't do sales. I have a master's in psychology. I'm not going to sell houses."
That makes the best salesman is when you don't do sales.
When you
Nobody
don't
wants
do
to
sales.
I did the mind tricks.
Yeah.
But then
and she signed
Nobody
on.
wants a salesman. Do that.
he brought me on saying, you have a master's in psychology. This is all psychology. And
life is psychology.
Life is like
right
psychology, yeah. And that's what kind of like sealed the deal for me, knowing that I was going to be people interactive constantly. And that's what I am. I am a people person.
And you hit an important point, I think, in any profession, and even myself. One of the things when we are underestimated, wherever we are, and it's happened to me where I realize is, hey, people are underestimating me. That's a tremendous opportunity.
That's right.
And that gives you that, for lack of a better word, a little bit of a surprise advantage in the world of negotiating, in the world of trying to get something done, getting a job done. Wouldn't you say, Eric?
Yeah, I think that the best spot in a negotiation is when you're able to show, even if it's not the case and it's not truth, but you're able to show and act like it's not the end of the world if it doesn't happen. You have to go into it knowing that you're doing the best you can, but if it doesn't happen, then you're not desperate for it to go through. And I think that in the world of real estate, an agent can pick up on that when the other agent is in dire need of making that happen, to the point of that's where a lot of bad reputation can really come in, because an agent can take advantage of their client, or the lender can take advantage of the client, or there's always a situation that could easily be skewed for the benefit of someone that's not the actual client. And I think when you lose that and it's just a paycheck, that's where you need to really rethink, are you in the right profession?
Yeah, you have to love what you do.
Mm-hmm. Like, I remember one of the first things I ever told Monica was, every transaction is different, and be ready to make mistakes and learn from them. Mm-hmm. And she was like, no, I'll get all my processes down. Everything's just going to be cut and dry. Like, the people will be different. The prices will be
that OCD
different.
Brain.
But, everything's going to be fine. And I'm like, okay, well, file an amendment, do this. And she's like, an amendment? That means I made a mistake.
I hate those.
And I'm like, an amendment's your best friend. Mm-hmm. In every transaction, an amendment's your best friend. Mm-hmm. Because I've yet to ever do a transaction where an amendment of some sort hasn't had to happen, whether it's a closing date, earlier, sooner, something has happened, name changes. And so you have to be able to pivot when it comes to be able to go and continue through the process.
Yeah,
I had both ends.
It costs you money. I'm sorry, but even if it costs you money, those mistakes. I mean, what I tell my employees is, it's another semester in college that we spent $4,500, but it taught us all a really good lesson. We all had another semester, and we're not going to do it again.
That's right.
Exactly.
Well, I was new and naive at that point.
Well,
I'm well learned now.
You are indeed you are. But as you mentioned, being recruited by Eric here. Mm-hmm. That means, Eric, you must have some strong recruiting skills. Let's give people a quick word, as many employers are trying to find the right person, or we're trying to have someone on the right team with us. Give us a word on recruiting and some of the things that you think are important to.
It has to be an right overall team. Fit.
Right.
But it still has to lie at the recruit. I feel like a lot of times it's always what's in it for the top instead of what's in it for the person. And so if I was recruiting out of what was selfish for what was best for me, then I may have wanted someone that wasn't brand new, or wasn't, hadn't done a sales type role. Not that she wasn't qualified, because she is, but had a little bit more backing in that. Maybe they did floor sales, or they had car sales, something that was that one step forward. But when you see something in somebody, and Monica has turned out as what I would feel, even talking to other colleagues that run a team, a wild success story. That when you go in and you look into growing the team further, now she set that bar. And that bar is pretty hard to beat, to where it's like, well, do I completely change the dynamic of which I view my personal business? And so I think that, when you can have that impact of someone coming into your team and into your company, whether it's real estate, commission-based or not, and that person that you brought in makes you reevaluate how you perform, I think that you've made the right call.
Yeah, you can't teach. There's certain things that you can't teach. I mean, you can get somebody with a great resume, but they have to have the personality and the honesty and integrity and all the things that Monica has.
It took him a while. I think it was a 2-year process where he tried bringing me on.
You had a great foundation, because there's something that I just learned about you, about your parents in the ministry with the bilingual church here in Spring Branch or Spring Valley.
Yes. So I've learned leadership my whole life. It was something that, I just watched and grew into it. My parents being ministers, this might be a term that not everybody understands, but they always said that I was born into a Levite tribe, which is a leadership tribe. My mom says that out of the womb, I was kind of like a natural leader, and I took things on. There's nothing in my mind that says it can't be done. If ever there's a moment where that challenge comes, then I call on the people that I trust most to bring me back up to where I'm supposed to be. All things can be done. I believe with my whole heart that if you put your mindset to it, that it can be accomplished. And like I said, strong people behind me, such as my mentor Eric, such as my husband, such as my children, and even my parents, people who believe in me. And, if I ever show my kids that something is impossible, then I'm limiting them in what they can do. So,
yeah.
You can reach me at 713-315-7724 or by email at monica.collin@compass.com.
And the number again, a little slower.
713-315-7724.
And Mr. Nelson, how can they reach you?
Cell phone, text would probably be the best at 281-660-1009.
We're talking with Eric Nelson and Monica Ceballos Collin with Compass Real Estate. Their team is called the Bayou City Team. As we continue with Monica Ceballos Collin and Eric Nelson, the Bayou City Team with Compass Real Estate. Along with us is Judene Bill with Texas Floor Covering. Fascinating to hear about real estate, fascinating to hear about your background. But as we think about commercial real estate, residential real estate on your team, which you're focusing on every day, Monica, give us an idea, first of all, commercial real estate. What's the market like right now? Are you seeing people moving in and securing offices? What's going on?
Yeah, the commercial real estate, unlike the residential real estate, is still on fire. I mean, when you think about Houston, when you think about Texas, and you think about outside investors and what they're watching happening to our state and to our city, the growth is just magnanimous. It's so much. So what we're seeing is a lot of even smaller investors try to move into the city and purchase these industrial warehouses in order to provide storage. We've got so many Amazon warehouses. Basically,
did you sell some of the Amazon warehouses?
Yeah.
With leasing some of those,
That's
yes.
a big deal.
So the problem is that we, even though we're big, the state is big, the city is big.
Everything's big.
Our builders are not thinking big. So, we're limited by that type of growth. I've got so many clients. I've got a list of clients and their needs, and I'm not able to fulfill them because I do not have the properties to match them. And it's kind of a problem. So in terms of leasing, yes, we're back to the office. We are back to the swing of things. I would even say in our mind frame, we don't even remember what COVID was like anymore. We don't remember being shut in for a whole year and not being able to eat at restaurants for 3 or 4 months, right? But it just now, I would say in the past 3 or 4 months, is when I see people have the larger companies rolling back into the office. I think I had a client of mine that it's now 3 years in, and he just barely went back. These leases that were given up and or abandoned are now being taken up again, and I truly believe that Houston is always going to be the last stand in terms of commercial.
Tell us about some of those deals.
Personally, recently closed about close to 43,000 square feet of a warehouse for Rafa Racing Team. I'm going to throw that in there, which is a supercar racing team, and it's an auto sports complex where race car drivers are going to be able to come and do a racing school, and there's going to be simulators, and there's going to be even auto sales and all sorts of things, for people who have that race car mindset, who own supercars.
Guys like Eric.
Guys like Eric, that's right.
I don't fit in them. I'm 6'3".
And I'm plugging it in because not only was it one of my larger deals, it's also a very, very good friend of mine, and my husband has, part in some of this, and it's just a phenomenal partnership, and those are the kinds of things that happen in commercial as well. You have friends that come in and also want to buy and sell.
Well, one of the things I'm curious about, and others are too, in commercial real estate, we are, especially this week, stock market, hurricanes, financial unrest, rising interest. I mean, I don't need to do the litany, but right now what you're saying is really a bit of a breath of fresh air, because you're saying in spite of all this right now, the outlook, the activity is good. And that brings me up, Monica, on the outlook for commercial real estate as we wind down the year, because there's no telling what the heck's going to happen, right? And then how does your company look at, from a commercial standpoint, then we'll hit the residential, how do you look at 2023 coming up?
Well, first, let me clear up that everything I said was prior to this week.
We don't know what's going to happen, but you know what I'm saying. This has been a week.
It has been quite a week. So, we'll probably won't see the residuals of this until about, a couple of weeks from now. I won't see the residual of this. The thing about commercial real estate, and this is what the larger aspect is, right? We're not talking about smaller leases or smaller warehouses. We're talking about, anything 15,000 square feet and up. The investors and the buyers for those are people who think long term, right? And that's like in anything, in residential and or
even
in
the
commercial.
stock market.
That's
but
right. Even
there's been a lot of surprises there, though.
Most people are not, buying these warehouses thinking like, thinking I'm going to go under. They're thinking, I have the backing for this. I'm doing this. I'm jumping in with both feet, and a lot of times it's multiple investors doing this. They're thinking long term. And so commercial is a long-term investment, and that's the same in residential when you're talking about investors who are thinking and buying up, larger properties or buying up multiple condos and Airbnb quality townhomes and homes. So anytime you think investor sales, you're thinking long-term. I'm not saying that 2023 is going to be a stellar or a tank, but I'm going to say it's going to be better numbers than we had during the pandemic, right? Because we saw a huge decline in those 2 years during the pandemic where there was virtually no commercial sales. And it wasn't until things started leveling off that those investors came back in. And even then we had so many calls because, California is a huge Asian market investment pool. And most of those Asians that were not investing in California because California was tanking were calling me. Now the pool is a little bit greater. I have a lot of foreign investors that are coming in and national investors that are coming in. But Houston is just that market that I think will survive most markets. It'll thrive just because of our wide open spaces.
And Eric, as far as residential, is it safe to assume that you're focusing more on residential? Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
All right, let's tell people that are listening and that are curious. They may be not wanting to buy or sell, but then again, there may be some buyers that are thinking about. I just talked to 2 minutes ago someone that says, "Hey, I'm waiting. I'm sitting this one out." So what's going on in residential?
Wait, first of all,
real
he
estate?
needs to tell us who that guy is, right?
Yeah, exactly. Give them my number
later.
But,
yes. Okay.
So the Fed met last week, raised.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, it caused mortgage rates to kind of spiral. Probably the worst it did since the beginning of the year. In doing so, it actually had the effect of more buyers coming up and saying, hey, let's go ahead and take the jump. Let's go ahead and work on getting pre-approved. Let's buy a home in the next 2 to 3 months so that we're not hitting this again. When you really look at real estate, you're a hedge against inflation. You're locking in your price today. A lot of sellers are going to opt not to sell, and inventory is going to stay low, especially in the Houston market. You can go macro, and they're projected a 20% price drop. That's all good and great, and in some markets, you may have a 40% price drop. In Houston, you are expected to have a slow increase, not a 20% increase like we've had the last couple of years in pricing, but the market is projected to stay strong. Yeah. Rates are going to be higher than we've seen. We won't see 2% for a while, if ever, but we could see sub 5, but where will prices be at that time?
And let me ask you this. I understand your CEO was in town yesterday. We're at the time we're recording this, but yesterday he was in town. And things that you can tell us, I'm sure there's secrets and things that are just within compass. But as he talked to the group, and I suppose he did, what are some of the things from that upper level? And this is, you're based in what, New York City? Is that correct?
That's
yes, corporate.
Okay, and that's where his office is, Robert
Refkin. Yes.
Refkin. So Robert was there. He spoke to the group. What are some of the things that he was telling you as far as the outlook from that upper management? And let's move forward and have a tremendous year-end and a tremendous 2023. What was the word that you can tell us?
I mean, a lot of word is that Compass is the number one brokerage in the country. And sells, the only number that we don't have more of than some other brokerages is agent count, but our production is number one. We do the most sales in the entire
you
U.S.
That many.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Because
we've had the best.
Exactly.
That's right. They have the best.
But it's about that the same thing. Certain markets will have an impact. I have some friends on the Bay Area that are agents, and his exact words was, I get the feeling that it's 2008 all over again.
In the Bay Area,
in the Bay
San
Area.
Francisco.
And he's like, my portfolio's way down, but I know it will come back. He does, super high end, so he's not that worried about it. But you also, in those markets, you'll have opportunistic buyers that want a home at a discount, have the money to do so, and are willing to hold out. But here in Houston, and for a good good amount of pockets, business is going to keep going. Real estate's going to buy and sell every single day, and it is up to us as an agent to be there for the clients, to add value and be part of those conversations.
And it piggybacks off of each other. I mean, the more investors we get, the more commercial deals that we're getting, the more, employees that we're getting, the more influx of people that we're getting. So that's going to reflect on our residential.
And that's one of the things I think about a lot, and that's the relationship between residential and commercial.
That's right.
I mean, when you have more people coming in, you're going to need more commercial establishments to fill services, products, Amazon warehouses. Holy smokes.
Well, that's one of the things that I do want to talk about, because I think
Tell us about that relationship.
One of the biggest assets in hiring me and Eric, or anyone from Compass, because if you hire somebody from Compass, they're going to direct us straight to us, because we are the commercial brokers at our Compass office here in Houston.
And once again, we want to tell them your team is called
the Bayou City team. Monica Ceballos, Colin, and John Eric Nelson. You have to call us. So one of the things about working with us versus, is that, we have access to both residential and commercial. What does that mean? That means that we're all in the human race, right? So we have both homes and we have businesses, and those clients that are both your residential clients are also in the business of getting businesses and procuring commercial properties. So we're kind of like a one-stop shop. Who likes to have multiple calls? Who wants to call your residential agent to sell your house and call your commercial agent to sell your commercial business or help you buy your commercial business? You call us, and we are able to help you with both transactions. One seamless transaction, with one person. People who have knowledge of both types of the sales. The other thing is that you've got, like Eric said, we've got about 800 agents here just within the Houston area. Wow. and more in the Woodlands, is that all of those people are connected. They're connected commercially and connected residentially. Where you sell on one of these larger commercial brokerages, you're only selling out to the commercial MLS. When you sell with us, we are able to market your property both residentially and commercially on both MLSs. So it's a much wider scale. So more eyes to see your property.
I like how you're nodding your head. She says it so well.
Yeah, she says it so well.
I mean, I'm in awe.
I can just say yes.
I also want to tell people this show is heard, yes, at the time of broadcast you might be listening, but also if you are outside of the Houston area, many people will listen to this on the internet by going to the YouTube channel, and that way they could see Monica's super blue blazer and Eric right here, all 6'10", 5, whatever.
10.
But yes, tune into the YouTube channel. Just go to radiobill.net. It's all there. So tell us outlook as far as residential when we think about 2023, Eric. What did Robert say?
It's going to be strong. Majority of the markets, I know Houston market very, very well, so I can't speak and wouldn't speak to Denver or Phoenix or any other market. It is projected to be maybe not 10%, but 5% or so increase year over year in property values. Interest rates will be higher than they've been in the last couple of years, but movement will happen. We're projected for our average purchase price to go up, number of transactions to go down, but also our inventory to slightly increase but still be what we would say as anemic. Could definitely increase. We're not going to have to a huge swing buyer's market. We don't project foreclosures to come rampant. People have too much equity in their home to if they're in the risk of losing their home, they can sell it, then go pay a year lease up front. Leasing market will probably have the biggest increase in 23 from a percentage standpoint on lease prices. We've already seen about a 20% jump from 2021 to 22, and the year's not done yet. So if you're looking to buy, you may want to go ahead and look at the mortgage, find something that works from a buying standpoint, because leasing is going to get just as, if not more expensive, as the rates continue to be high.
And you can always refi.
That's
what we tell our clients constantly. My clients are like, "Why would I buy right now?" Well, because later on, you're the same house that you could have bought at $500,000, you'll be buying at $650,000, and all it will take is a difference of 2 years to allow yourself to refi and get yourself into the deal of your life. Yeah, it's just numbers.
It's all about the numbers.
So, Monica, from the commercial standpoint, out of, let's say, the last 10 transactions, how many of them have been from out of the state of Texas? And then residential, after Monica tells us.
I'd say half
So
of
50,
them.
50.
50-50,
What
yeah.
about on the residential end there, Eric?
Oh.
That you've helped the last 10
for
that-
me personally,
yeah.
maybe a little less than 50-50, maybe about 25%.
From out of the
where
state.
people moving in. We've had some move out, which I kind of scratch my head and why would you want to leave? But
Why?
everyone to each their own. I just closed one in the Memorial area. It's an executive moving from Denver, and they are ecstatic to be out of Denver, and sold their house in a day with like 20 viewings and 5 offers
In Denver?
Wow.
Wow.
And they closed today actually on the sale of their home. We got connected because we have agents and friends in pretty much every area.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to tag team all Compass family for both sides of that.
So I do residential as well, and I would say on my residential side, because I work a lot more on referral based on the residential side, 75% of my clients are from out of state. They're all coming into Houston. Most of my buyers last year were all California buyers. I'd say, yeah, quite a bit of them.
California.
You had some Portland and
I
Seattle
had
people.
Portland, Seattle. I had Denver,
West Coast,
Miami.
huh?
Yeah.
They complain about our coffee around here, though.
What's wrong with our coffee?
Oh,
Portland.
Oh, that's better
It
coffee.
wasn't hipster enough for them.
Oh, well.
We sent them to
I'm always
Montrose.
looking for a new cup of coffee. I love coffee, so you hit it.
Eric's
you hit
a
it.
coffee man.
I am.
Eric, well, after the show, you tell me your top couple coffees. I may have to go make a new purchase. In the meantime, so things are rocking along. You're excited about Compass and also your team. How long have you had the team
7
formed?
years.
7 years.
Yeah. So this current structure has been 3. We had a couple interchanging and Monica coming in, and that structure has been about 3 years.
Wow. And that is Monica Ceballos, Colin. I'm getting better each time. I'm
You
trying.
are.
Right, Monica?
You got it.
And Eric Nelson, both with Compass Real Estate, the Bio City team, right here in Houston, doing tremendous work, both with residential. I think that's a tremendous blend, the residential and commercial.
That's
You're onto something, just saying.
100%.
Now,
We got a niche for sure.
Now, outside of work, I know you're helping, you help the community. Let's talk about that. But also, what are some of the things you do just for recreation, Monica?
For fun? Oh my goodness! I have 3 teenagers. I don't know what fun is. It's
Okay.
it's driving around,
just said it all.
chauffeuring them around.
Take the fun away.
I've got 3 kids going to homecoming this weekend. So for fun,
3?
I sit down
At
and I
once?
do logistics about where I'm going to be and how I'm going to take pictures of each one of them at their different events.
Oh my!
For fun, I'm a foodie. I love to eat, so you'll always catch me trying a new restaurant or trying a new spot. I love doing that. What else do I do for fun? Oh my goodness, I sound so much like a mom right now.
Well,
I don't.
You have a busy
I
weekend
love-
ahead.
I love-
I'm
I
sweating
do
that.
love to travel. My husband and I love to travel. We travel quite a bit, and I enjoy watching him play soccer. For myself, just any time that I can be away from everybody and have a little time for myself, that's great.
The spa.
How about
The
you, Eric?
spa.
Getting into golf more and more. Getting my son into golf. I have a 7-year-old son and
I
a.
thought you were going to say I have 7 kids. No.
No. Done
Okay.
2 and done 2. That's it.
There you go.
And we're quite involved in our church, and our son goes to Second Baptist School, and so we're very involved there. So any chance I can to embarrass him with a good dad joke or in a silly costume up at his school, I will take it. And so we do that. Football, sports, all of that good stuff for the kids. My wife and I will be hitting 11 years married in a couple of weeks.
Congratulations.
We will celebrate the day at a football game and then the spa with a nice dinner afterwards.
She's excited. She told me.
Well, we're going to tell people how they can reach out to you. But before we close the segment, let's tell people, Judene was talking about how you're helping the community. Let's have a word on that, and then we'll tell people how they can reach out to you.
So just like Eric, church is a very, very integral part of our life, and we help in any way we can with several outreach ministries. But personally, I work with the Houston 20. It's an organization that helps with sex trafficking in the Houston area. I'm not sure if many of your listeners know this, but Houston is a hub for sex trafficking.
Unfortunately,
because
yes.
of the I-10 freeway and our direct access to Mexico. And sadly, a lot of people think that just because the trafficking is just from Mexico, but no, it has ventured out. There is trafficking amongst us, taking our children from high schools, from middle schools, and it's something that it's very prevalent here that we're all aware of. There's so many, rings within the Houston area. And all we do is we gather. We didn't want to become another philanthropy. We didn't want to become another puzzle just absorbing money and asking for money. So what we do is we gather together more affluent people and women of the community who really want to make a difference. And we didn't become an organization. What we did is when we gather money, we send it to 20 different organizations that we know helps human trafficking, long-term care, short-term care.
What's the name of the organization?
The Houston 20. You can look them up on Instagram. You can look them up on the web, the Houston 20.
And that's the website?
That's right.
The Houston20.com?
.com. 20. That's
okay,
right.
and people could help by going there.
By going there, by donating, by becoming part of our charitable events, and the important part is that all of the money raised goes to well-founded organizations.
And also, there may be someone right now that wants to buy a $50 million building that's coming
right.
from California or
You
New
need
York
to call
City.
me.
They want to call the Bayou City team. Let's tell people how they can reach you, Monica Ceballos Collin.
You can reach me at 713-315-7724 or by email at monica.collin@compass.com.
And the number again, a little slower.
713-315-7724.
And Mr. Nelson, how can they reach you?
Cell phone, text would probably be the best at 281-660-1009. Email is Eric, ERIC, at thebayoucityteam.com.
And the phone number again is?
281-660-1009.
I want to say hello to some of our friends over there at Compass, Sita, Sherry. They're super
Susanna.
awesome.
They're amazing.
Indeed. And as we continue, we now get to talk to Tammy Betancourt. She was the Chief Executive Officer for the Building Owners and Managers Association of Houston. Some people call that BOMA. And now she is here with us today to talk about things in the real estate world, what she used to do, life in the country, and so much more. Right, Judene?
Yes, absolutely.
And let's tell people, first of all, Judene, how you and Tammy know each other and how you brought her forth here
Through
today.
business. She was the officer of BOMA, which I helped serve on the legislative committee with her a few times, and went up to Austin with her and got to know her. She's always been my biggest competitor in golf. We always fought for the longest drive. It was either me or her getting that longest drive. And the same thing when we started shooting. When BOMA started doing the shooting tournaments, it was me or you that was number one or number two.
Always.
So we were very, very competitive with each other.
Well, first of all, let's tell people, I've recently just heard the term BOMA, but as you were there as the Chief Executive Officer, tell people about it, because here in Houston, many people have not heard about it or know about it.
Well, the Building Owners and Managers Association of Houston is a trade association geared towards people who own and manage buildings, commercial buildings. So it excludes residential completely. There's no residential involved. Mm-hmm. So members of that group would be groups like Hines, CBRE, Transwestern, you name it. Anybody who owns a building in Houston should be a member of BOMA. BOMA's mission is to fourfold. It's to educate, legislate, and protect the interests of commercial real estate, as well as provide networking opportunities for the
vendors,
folks who work in the buildings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the different managers and stuff.
Right. To educate, the folks who own and manage the buildings.
One of the first things that comes to my mind is there's a lot of buildings in Houston.
There are.
So this is fertile ground for such an organization. I guess that's how it started, maybe.
It really is. It started. The organization actually started in Chicago, but one of the first presidents was from Houston, and so that was back when downtown was very small, and the buildings were very small relatively, and the actual first president from Houston was a building engineer.
And you also have classes for building engineers as well.
We do. We educate building engineers. We actually wrote a course in Houston for building engineers to help them do their jobs better. As you know, with a lot of the engineering staff in buildings, they come from maybe lower level positions, maybe daytime stewards, and they get moved into those positions doing the not so technical repairs, and they move up. So there's a need to educate those folks and teach them how to not only serve the tenants, the clients, the customers, but also to communicate with management. The budgets,
Saving money for the building
most
owners.
engineers don't know how to do a budget. So our class that we wrote taught them how to, what the importance of accounting and budgeting is to managing the building and their role as it applied to those issues. Also communications, how to write a proper email to a tenant. If they have to respond to a tenant's email, the way to do that, most specifically the way not to do that. So
I might need help in that department.
It also covers energy management.
We could all use that email etiquette.
Energy management, tenant relations. It covers the whole gamut. And we wrote that right here in Houston, and that's actually being marketed nationwide now.
A lot of work is being done every day as far as managing the buildings. I mean, this is a big deal.
So, one of the big things that you do for the building owners is teach their managers how to save money. I mean, you're teaching them how to reduce their electricity rates and their property taxes. And, can you give us a couple of tips for some listeners out there that might have their own building and they want to try to negotiate those rates?
I have a big tip.
Okay, good deal.
My biggest tip for any property owner who would like to save money is to get involved in the legislative process. Get involved in local politics, because that's where the biggest hit to your bottom line from taxes, especially taxes, energy rates, water consumption, all of those dollars are being driven by the actions of politicians. And it's number one, very important to be involved in who gets those elected positions and what they're, educating them about the impact to business of the decisions that they're making. I did legislative advocacy for BOMA for many, many years, 21 years. It's surprising to me how few elected officials know anything about how their decisions impact the cost of doing business in a city. Anywhere from water drainage fees. You might recall a few years ago we had the big battle over drainage fees. It's just an arbitrary tax put on every office building in the city. We lobbied against that, obviously, to make it reasonable, because the first launch was not reasonable of the ordinance that came out. We got that down to what we considered reasonable. We would have liked to have defeated it, but there was just too much political pressure behind the city needing money. So we didn't defeat it, but we did make positive change to it to make it more affordable. And so it's so important for, building owners and managers to be involved in those political issues. They've got to follow the city committees, city council, keep track of what's going on so that you can respond to it. Because if you don't know what's going on, obviously you're not going to be able to respond to it.
And that's what's so good about BOMA is you stay on top of all of that and send out emails to anybody that's a member of BOMA gets those newsletters.
Right. And I'll say that, obviously I'm not with BOMA anymore, so I don't want to represent that. It's still me. The legislative committee is fantastic at really monitoring those issues and staying abreast of what's going on within the city, county, and the state. The issues that they cover and respond to as volunteers, which is the amazing part, is, Houston BOMA has some staff, but most of the work is done by the volunteers who make those calls, go visit with city council members. And they are I think the most active committee within BOMA that makes the most impact for the membership and saves, millions of dollars by the impact they make on some of these ordinances that are written and get defeated.
Yeah, I was on that committee with you once, and that was kind of fun, taking that little trip to Austin and going in the different offices and pitching your case. And
right, and
so you guys really do work hard.
Every other year, obviously, when the legislature meets, BOMA will put together a advocacy day and send teams of property managers to Austin to meet with their legislators to share issues of importance that year to the commercial real estate industry. I think we had usually, around 100 meetings with different legislators from across the state and sharing our points on sales price disclosure. That comes up every single year. Obviously, taxes is a huge issue and has been until Senator Betancourt.
And will always be,
unfortunately.
unfortunately.
But Senator Betancourt passed Senate Bill 2, and that has provided relief in the capping the amount of tax that can be collected by any municipality. That's been a huge help. Obviously, more help is needed, but that's one of the issues that we cover. And then also, reasonable energy efficiency accommodations. A lot of times legislators like to wave the green flag and say, oh, we want to be green and pristine, but
Change all the light bulbs in the building.
There's a cost. Everything that's suggested is, in a lot of those bills, there's a cost to it. And they have to understand that cost gets passed right back to the tenant. Whoever leases the space, is the one who ultimately is paying the price for all of those initiatives.
So what can building owners do to make it a little bit more economy friendly?
Well, what they like as I said,
economical friendly.
Get involved.
I should speak.
Get involved.
Yeah.
Get involved. Let their people get involved. And there's not a short, easy fix for a lot of, especially taxes. That's something that took us 8 years to get done, just to get a little bit of relief. But to get involved now, to keep their eye on the ball and what's going on, even at the city level, you've got the county level spending county dollars on programs that we've never paid for before. So we have a county judge who has taken a county government that was focused on roads and parks, and pretty much that's what their role is infrastructure, roads, bridges, and parks. That's their thing. And now we're spending billions of dollars in healthcare, social services programs, you name it. We've expanded the county budget. Now she's wanting another tax increase to pay for all of those things. Those taxes get paid for by you, every taxpayer in the city, and especially the office buildings. Another area to pay attention to is the school taxes. School taxes are the highest item on your tax bill is your school tax. And it's important to pay attention. I can remember Paul Betancourt sent an email out one day, I'm guessing 8 or 10 years ago. And he sent it to myself and leaders of other real estate associations in the city. And he said, there's a HISD hearing tonight on their tax rate. They're trying to raise it 3 cents. I need you to be there. And so I was the only one that showed up.
Oh, no.
I put my talking points together quickly to share with them the impact that would have. 3 cents doesn't sound like much to the average taxpayer, but it equates to millions and millions of dollars in actual taxes coming into the school district. So, he and I were the only ones that show up. We got it lowered 1 penny, which was a 30%, 33.3% decrease, which I'll consider a huge win.
Yeah.
But no one goes to the school board meetings when they propose their tax increases or decreases. Now the state's gotten involved, and that's helped quite a bit in the school taxes.
So maybe we should encourage building managers to start going to some of those meetings
and paying attention. A lot of them are online.
The building owners.
Exactly. A lot of those are online. So as far as quick fixes for real estate owners, I don't know that there are a lot of quick money fixes out there, to immediate, but getting involved in your local politics is definitely essential to help.
Well, I know when I owned a couple of buildings in our lifetime, and the management company fought for our electricity rates, and they got those rates down, and that saved us a ton of money every year. So some little tips like that.
Right. Electricity is not my specialty, Judene.
Okay.
But I do know that there are
politics.
consultants you can hire to help, aggregate your costs for your buildings and bid it out. I know that the game changed when deregulation happened, and I'm just dating myself because that was a long time ago.
I remember that too.
Okay, We've talked about the Houston BOMA office for the last 10 minutes, which you're no longer there. You've been there 21 years, and so let's tell them what you're doing now.
What are you doing now? Yeah.
What am I doing now? Well, I'm raising my chickens. We live now in Oakhurst in the piney woods of East Texas, and it's quiet. We've got I think we're at 8 chickens right now, so we've got our
From
raising
buildings
our
to
chickens.
chicken coops.
I have my beautiful grandchildren out there with me that I get to spend a lot of time with. I'm doing some consulting. Oakhurst Strategies is the name of my company, and actually I'm doing some consulting for Judene. Been helping her with some of her digital marketing and outreach.
And with Oakhurst, do you have a website, or if people are interested in that,
it's
Tammy?
oakhurststrategies.com.
oakhurststrategies.com.
Correct.
Oh, you know what?
But you're also, tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Judene as well.
Okay.
Right quick. You're helping her company, Texas Floor Covering, at texasfloorcovering.com, by the way.
Well, I have a very, very outdated website. I think I haven't even looked at that website in probably 16 years.
I saw it.
And it's very outdated, very wordy. And so I asked her, I said, hey, let's get all the wordiness out of there and just, make it a little bit. Because if I get an email and it's more than a couple paragraphs, it loses my interest almost immediately. So you've got to think about the same thing in a website. If it's too wordy, it's going to lose interest.
Right.
We didn't think about that 16 years ago, but now she's helping me with that and updating the pictures. Some of those pictures that I have on there are pretty old too.
We should have a whole new look launched in a week or two. Is my guess. So we've done the preliminary work on that, just the website refresh. So folks get out there and take a look at your websites and see if you like it.
She knows everybody, so she's a queen in marketing.
Well,
But from the big buildings and the management and all that and the nuances of all the things that are involved, here you are enjoying country life. And I think that's very exciting, Tammy. I'm excited for you, even though I'm nowhere near the country.
well, let me tell you something
Tell
about
us about
country life. I've become a master gardener since I've moved to Oakhurst, and I enjoy my gardens and the network of folks that I've met out there in a very short period of time. I ran for office. I ran for county commissioner last year. I was not successful.
That's because
Had a good
nobody there
run.
knew you.
Well, and it's
Nobody
right. I had
knows you,
literally
so.
60
You should
days.
have been on the show last year.
I know.
I should have. I had 60 days to get a campaign together, but I still got a good percentage of a vote for being a brand new candidate. And in a county like San Jacinto County, if I may, it's a little bit, you talk about a different lifestyle. It is a entrenched group of folks out there who are running that county, and breaking into that was even a skosh was a big challenge. There has never been a female county commissioner in San Jacinto County.
Well, we need to change that.
Well, it's a lifestyle many people are seeking now. And as we have about a minute or so left,
Okay.
Judene, what else should we cover with Tammy? And of course, we want to tell people again, TexasFloorCovering.com for commercial flooring. Judene Bill is all over that, helping the city for 30-plus years. But what else before we close?
One question I'd like to ask you: are you going to run again?
I'm probably going to run again.
Good.
Time
Keep
will
running
tell.
until we win.
We'll see what happens, but it's my intention to keep out there and at least keep the pressure on, so that the county moves forward.
Well, tell them your website again. So
It's oakhurststrategies.com.
and is that how they would get a hold of you?
Yeah, sure. Or you can text me at 713-203-0726. 713-203-0726.
And, of course, Judene, once again, you're there to help people with their commercial flooring all over Houston, Texas. You've done work at Minute Maid Park, small jobs, medium
Did Paul
jobs.
Bettencourt's office as well.
Paul
How about
Bettencourt's
that?
office. Look at
Yeah.
that. Let me tell you, reliable.
I think Judene knows a lot of people
I think
here
I
in
know
town.
everybody
She
in
knows
the
a lot
town.
more than I do.
Yeah.
She says I know a lot more people, but I would.
It's just a
debate
wonderful
that.
business. We love our business because we do get to just visit with our friends every day. I mean, we have so many. I think just about 90% of my friends are through business.
Right.
So.
Right. Isn't
And
that
then you even
wonderful?
bring them on the radio, Judene.
I do. I bring 'em on to help them
Drag us
out.
up here.
Well, we thank you all. We thank you today, Tammy, for being with us. And I am virtually living the country life through you. Just saying, every now and then when I get stressed out, I'm going to be thinking about the chicken coops and all the fun that goes with that. Judene, thank you so much. TexasFloorCovering.com. And thank you all for listening to Successful Living with Bill Napick. I'm Bill Napick, together with Judene Bill, Tammy Bettencourt, right here on the show. As we close things down, feel free to go to radiobill.net. That's right, in case you want to see what's going on in the studio during the show, or go to past episodes. Once again, it's simply radiobill.net. Thank you for listening, and we will see you all next week. Thank you, guys.